The Denver Broncos season is officially over. And Henry, you know what that means for the DNVR Broncos podcast?
It's going to be fun again?
There we go. Make the podcast fun. And also, this is really like the season starts now for us. Because the season for the Broncos, unfortunately, when you're not good, starts when the offseason begins. So, first day of the season, happy offseason, happy season, Henry.
It's crazy how you're right, though. It's like a dozen teams, maybe half the league, the season is the season. For the Broncos, the season has been the offseason for 7 years.
Yeah.
6 years. 2016, the season was the season. Ever since. No, even the year after. I think the season was the season in 2017, but then it just didn't go well, and that's when the cycle started.
That's when the cycle started. I had some buddies texting me like, didn't the Broncos have a streak of more Super Bowl appearances than losing seasons? Yeah, I haven't brought that one up in a couple of years because that kind of went out of the water, or went completely away.
Out of the water for sure.
Ago. Yeah, out of the water. I wasn't sure if that was an actual term or not.
I don't think so.
I want everybody to be very aware. Like we arrived very late last night.
Yeah, we're not in very good shape.
Just everybody be aware. There's going to be little mistakes.
This might be my gym season.
It's fine.
Oh.
I've been thinking about, like, how does my life work now? Because it's been, like, Monday, rewatch a game. Tuesday, write the game grades from the game. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, go to practice. Saturday, you probably have something to write. Sunday's the game, and then you're back to Monday. And you throw in the podcast in there, and it's just like it's been kind of the same thing for 4 months now.
Yeah.
I have to build a whole new routine for myself.
It's true. Routine.
Yeah. I'm not doing that today. Today, I'm getting this over with. I'm sleeping. I'm waking up. I'm making money on the championship, and then I'm sleeping again.
And you're writing at some point
and writing.
there, too.
Oh, God. How is that working?
Yeah, I mean, it's a whirlwind. We got back, I think we all got home around 3 a.m. last night. Broncos had their season-ending press conferences today with the players. The players had locker room clean out. Later in this week, we're going to talk to Sean Payton, George Payton, where that's going to be juicy, and Greg Penner, so you'll want to make sure to stay tuned from that. And Henry, sometimes when we're in the locker room, it's nothing much is said and nothing much is done. Not the case today. Some players on their way out dropped a couple of bombs in the locker room, exploded, and have some very big things for us to talk about. And let's jump into that, where we talk to Jarrett Stidham, Jerry Jeudy, Pat Surtain, Josey Jewell, Zach Allen, Mike McGlinchey, Jonas Griffith talked. Who else? Who else was
I spent
talking?
a few minutes talking with Art Green and then Matt Henningsen.
Art Green,
Greg
Matt
Dulcich.
Henningsen, Greg Dulcich is a big one. What's your biggest takeaway? Where do we start? Because some of these guys didn't say much, but some of them said a lot.
Biggest takeaway is everybody's sad. It was just a really sad, dark day. Nobody's really having fun. Like, signing jerseys for each other, saying, like, goodbye, hope I see you again. Like, all their friends, like, not all their friends, a third of their friends are just going to be gone now because they weren't good enough. And that's just a tough feeling to have. You know, like I said, I was talking to Henningsen about it. It's like, yeah, like, it's just kind of like the last day here. Like, we lost, which sucks, and now there's this, which sucks even more. That's my big takeaway, is that everybody, I don't know, they get along great. And multiple guys were saying that. Like, yeah, everybody's just friends now. Like, that wasn't necessarily the case a couple years ago. Everybody's boys, and we failed, and that sucks. Even when you're talking to guys, like, the Josey guy asked, like, yeah, like, how nice is it when the defense turned around or something like that? He's like, well, I mean, it still wasn't good the second half. Like, we were capable of so much more. Half the games were still just terrible down the stretch. Like, the vibes were bad.
Yeah.
The vibes were bad.
I think it's a roller coaster of kind of the season put into one day of talking to people, because you do have some people taking a positive, like seeing the positives, not necessarily admitting like, hey, look, this was the best season we've had since 2016 here. There are positives, and people touch on the positives. People focus on the positives. But like you said, the Broncos turned their season around. They were in the driver's seat to win or to make the playoffs, at least, sitting at 6-5 after a 5-game win streak, starting 1-5. Everything was turned around. That poor start, losing to the Raiders week 1, losing to the Commanders in week 2, was out the window because they had turned their season around, and then to finish the season 2-4, very disappointing. And I think today was emotional for some people. Like you said, missing their buddies, understanding they're not going to have this team again, being sad about how the season ended. And then there was also someone in particular, Jerry Jeudy, who just seemed pissed off, sick of it, tired of this BS. And he actually used a cuss word when talking to the media today. And I just think that his frustration, that was the emotion that was bigger than anything in the locker room today, was Jerry Jeudy's frustration. Yeah,
and I wasn't there for that. So what exactly happened?
So Jerry just was yesterday his best game of this season. If not, it was
there.
like second or third.
It'd be up there.
If not his best. Henry, you know how many touchdowns Jerry Jeudy scored this year?
Was that the only one?
That was the only touchdown that Jerry Jeudy scored, was yesterday. And he was asked about it, and he said, well, yeah, it felt good. It had been 6 months since I scored a touchdown. And we've seen the frustration from Jerry Jeudy building over not just the course of the year, over the course of a couple of years. And we saw, 2 months ago, that Jerry Jeudy said the tape doesn't lie, like just put on the film and, essentially, I'm open. I'm doing my job. I need some help. Clearly, Russell Wilson and Jerry Jeudy, just the way their games are played, never lined up. I don't think that was ever truly going to be a good match. Why? Because Jerry Jeudy is all about timing. Russell Wilson, all about chaos. And I mean that in a good way for Russ. Russ thrives the most when things break down. When things break down, that is when timing goes out the window. So those two things just never, ever meshed. And I think that Jerry was excited when the Broncos got Russ because he's a Hall of Fame quarterback. How could you not be if you're a receiver? But then kind of seeing how things unfolded, I think Jerry understood, like, this is just never going to work out for me. I'm never going to be maximized. And then Jarrett Stidham comes in, and specifically yesterday has, arguably one of the best games of the season. Yeah,
there's definitely some of that. But it's not just on Russ not, like, fitting it. Like, if Jerry was surprisingly poor, honestly, at getting open on scramble drills. Like, you would think somebody who has the shiftiness and the ability to break and stuff, but that there's something about it where he just wasn't able to get himself open. So it's an interesting conversation though, because that's one of their big decisions is they're giving him $13 million this year, and they've got to figure out whether they want to move on or whether they want to give him that money.
So when talking about the future, he was asked, and here's going to pull up a video of us talking about what Jerry had to say about Stidham, because I think that's eye-opening as well. But when asked about the future, there's been a lot of speculation that Jerry's obviously heard. Everyone's heard. Everyone's been talking about for months now with Jerry Jeudy's future. The 5th year option. Are the Broncos going to pick it? Right, years. Are the Broncos going to pick it up? They did pick it up. Then when the season's going and the Broncos are 1-5, are the Broncos going to trade Jerry Jeudy? Jerry Jeudy follows a lot of Panthers players on social media. That gets some steam. Jerry was not traded at the trade deadline. So when he was asked about his future today and dealing with the noise, you're going to want to put earphones on here, or headphones. Headphones? Yeah, no. Earmuffs.
That's what you're saying.
For.
Okay.
Yeah, not headphones. Earmuffs for the kids out there. He was asked about his future and how he deals with the noise about whether it's an extension or a trade this offseason. Jerry simply said, I don't give a fuck about none of that. Okay. Wow. We're just going right there. And that is the frustration that Jerry Jeudy, you could see it. in his words. You could feel it when talking to him. And really the one time that there was optimism from Jerry Jeudy was when he was asked about Jarrett Stidham. Now, this might be a little bit difficult to hear, but I want you guys to hear it coming from Jerry's mouth, what he had to say when asked about Jarrett Stidham and the confidence he has in Stidham moving forward. You hear? Let's roll that.
I think Stidham's a very smart quarterback. Know the games, know how to read defenses, know how to make plays and put the ball in playmakers' hands. I feel like he could do it all for as a quarterback. Yeah.
That seemed like pretty damn good confidence in Jarrett Stidham from Jerry Jeudy. He said he's a very smart quarterback. He can read defenses. He can make the right reads. He can find the open receivers. That sounds like everything you'd want in a quarterback.
Yeah, also sounds like me and Jerry were watching some different games these last couple weeks. But yeah.
But what I
it was
find
nice. It's what you say.
What I find very interesting about that, because Henry, that's exactly what Jerry did not do the rest of the time, though. Jerry didn't just take the company line and the line that PR would want him to say.
There was the one time he didn't. I think for the most part he has.
Not today. Today he was very frustrated and very willing to show that frustration. So I just found that interesting.
That is true.
Because not necessarily an indictment on Russ in general, but an indictment on how Jerry feels that he can get the most, or how Jerry feels he can get the most when he's in an offense with Russ compared to Jarrett.
Well, and that's where I go back to I don't give a fuck about that. Again, it's that same question he's gotten over and over and over. It's like, so there's these things that might be happening behind the scenes. And that's what he said before is trade me. Don't trade me. I'm just going to keep doing the same thing. And that's the same thing where it's like, are you going to extend it? Are you going to get traded? It's like, bro, my job is to play football. I'm just going to play football. What do you want me to say here? And maybe there's a more political way to say it, but
there definitely is.
And it's been years that he's just been asked the same thing over and over again. And so the response is maybe worded differently than it has been in the past, but it's they might trade me. Yeah, I've heard that. They might extend me. That's up to my agents to figure out. I am here to play football, and that's what I'm going to do. So, whatever the fuck everybody else wants to say, or however he said it, let him go do it. I'm just going to keep playing football. And it's the exact same thing he said at the trade deadline, too, where some people took it as oh, he doesn't love to be a Denver Bronco because he isn't scared of being traded. And it's bro, he just said trade me, don't trade me. My job is to play football. I'm going to go play football, and I'm just going to ignore what everybody else is saying, because he didn't do a good job of ignoring that at first. Luckily, he's kind of been a pro, because it's been 3 years now, probably at least 2 years, probably 3 years, where there's at least been whispers of oh, are they going to get rid of Jerry? And he's 24 now? He's 24, which means he's on Twitter, he's on Instagram, he's reading all this. It's not like he has no idea it's happening. And you can say oh, those guys shouldn't be online all you want. He's 24. And not only that, he's a cool 24-year-old. And a cool 24-year-old is going to be on Instagram, and he's going to see these getting tagged 10 times a day, 100 times a day at the peak, and oh, Jerry Jeudy might get traded to here for this because of what it's you might get traded. It's I don't give a fuck about that. That's on it. Yeah. Of course that's what he said.
Jerry's frustration is now creeping into Henry, and now Henry's frustrated about it. But Henry's trying to say that there's no frustration here, but Jerry's frustration is getting to Henry so much that now he's frustrated.
His frustration is that every day he wakes up and you wake up and you scroll through Twitter for 15 minutes. For him, maybe it's probably Instagram. And during that scroll, somebody says Broncos got to trade Jerry Jeudy. It is every single day in the last 3 years. He has heard at least one person, whether it's ESPN or some random Bronco fan or whoever. He has heard somebody say will the Broncos trade Jerry Jeudy? Every single day. And at times he's probably getting 1,000 of them in a day. At this point, that's the truth though, is if his opinion is anything other than I don't give a fuck about that, he would be a head case by now. If he was living and dying by every single time he heard Jerry Jeudy might get traded, at this point the guy he'd be a psychopath. It's every single day.
So I have a question for you then.
Yeah.
there was so much trade speculation last offseason with Jerry and Court. Both of those two guys, like you said, every day it was being talked about, either on social media, with local media, with national media, because it was clear the Broncos were willing to move on from one or both of those guys at the right price. Do you think it's going to be more or less of that chatter this offseason?
I don't think it's possible to be more. But I think it'll be just as much. It's going to keep going. It's not over. And they should have taken the deal. Like they held out for a first-round pick, could have taken a second. In hindsight, should have taken the second, because you're not getting that now at this point. It's awesome to be a first-round draft pick because you get all the money and all that sort of stuff. At the same time, though, I mean, he finished, 750 receiving yards. I think he finished 48th in the NFL in receiving yards. What does that make him? Dead center, wide receiver 2. And I guess you could even throw in, there's probably running backs, tight ends, whatever. He's playing like a wide receiver 2. He was the 14th pick, 15th pick?
Yep.
15. You expect a wide receiver 1. And so because of, that's kind of the reason, where if you would just, if he was Tim Patrick, Tim Patrick puts up 750 yards every year, and everybody's like, oh, Tim Patrick, that's our guy. That's our king. Tim Patrick's awesome. Jerry Jeudy puts up 750, and you're like, we thought you were a 1,500-yard receiver. Which is
Isn't that fair, though?
That's why you expect it, but it sure does suck for Jerry. The money that you get being a first-round pick, that sort of stuff, it is what it is. And the flip side is, if a team is trading for him now, they're not trading for him because they're like, yeah, we need a wide receiver 2, let's go get Jerry Jeudy. They're trading for him because they're like, yeah, this guy might still give us 1,300 yards. But what's that worth? You're not trading a first for those odds. You're not trading a second for those odds. And with that money, you're trading a fourth or a fifth. And it's like, hey, this is a lottery ticket. And it might hit, it might not hit. It might be that Jerry just, his game doesn't translate because of the contested catches or he's not a spectacular catcher of the football, which at the end of the day, being a wide receiver in the NFL, it's a pretty big part. He's good at getting open, but you're so good at getting open. You're so not special as a catcher of the football. It all balances out to he'll get you 750, and maybe teams can get him open or protect longer or whatever. But I would not enjoy being Jerry Jeudy for 95% of the things that he has to deal with. But that other 5% where it's the money and the whatever the hell else makes it totally worth it. He still lives a good life, but there is a lot of shit that he's got to deal with. And so when he says yeah, I don't give a fuck about that, thank God, because otherwise if you were living and dying by every single time somebody said yeah, the Broncos should trade Jerry Jeudy, he'd be in a mental institution.
To be fair, though, we've seen his frustration build up. He has given a crap about a lot of this stuff, but it's going to be important for him to take that mindset moving into the future because outside of getting a quarterback, and that involves trades, moving up in the draft, potentially moving on from a great player on your team in order to go get a quarterback, all of that stuff, I think Jerry Jeudy and Courtland Sutton are going to be the second biggest potential trade move that the Broncos make this offseason. So that's something that is not going to go away. And we heard from Jerry Jeudy for the last time before this speculation really ramps up again today. But quarterback, that's number one. We talked to the Broncos starting quarterback, Jarrett Stidham, not Russell Wilson today. Let's get into that. You talked about lottery tickets, though. Hank, you've got a lottery ticket, essentially, over at Bet365, plus 6,000 on the Cleveland Browns to
5,500. So I got 5,500 down to 3,500. I wonder, that was before the matchups came out yesterday. And so the fact that they're playing the Texans in the first game.
You feel good about that?
Oh, I feel great about it. And that's a nice thing.
So is to win the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Right now, the Cleveland Browns over at Bet365 plus 3,000. Just keeps dropping.
Yeah. So
you gotta want to check your buyout.
It just, I'm not buying that out. Not for a while at least.
You believe in Joe.
I mean, because I think I've got that. I've got a smaller one that's I think it was a combined 50 plus 55, so I guess the same, but it's the Ravens to win the Super Bowl and the Nuggets to win the Western Conference. So I'll just kind of roll that over if it hits, which is nice. So I've got the Ravens and the Browns in the AFC, which I feel pretty good about. And then I've got the Cowboys. That was actually my big boy. I think the payout winds up being about the same as the Browns because the odds weren't as good. I think I got them at 1,300. But I think those are my 3 that I've got. And so like all those games, I get to just let it ride, cheer for my boys. And then the others, I'll get a little bit more creative.
Let it ride or let's ride?
Let it ride.
Let it
It's
ride.
not let's ride. It's not let's ride.
What do you think for tonight's game? Right now over
Washington.
at Bet365. Washington?
Yep.
Plus 5.
big
or
on the money
plus
line.
180.
Big on the money line. I'm going to take... Oh, they're at 180 now. Last I'd seen was 164.
Yep. And
yeah,
it
so
was 4.5. Now it's 5.
Yeah, I really like that. Yeah, I mean, that plus money, it's going to... Michigan has a great defense, and they've got, like, a solid offense. Washington has, like, a historical offense. Like, you look through their numbers compared with, like, any team of the last decade. This whole era of college football, you could make the case... And you couldn't make the case for number 1 offense of, like, the CFP era, but, like, it's right up there. I think they're going to be able to put up numbers. And the key is, like, I like the over and Washington parlayed, because if they win, it's because it's a high-scoring game. If Michigan wins, it's like 17-13 or something.
I love it.
Yeah.
They have a super boost over at Bet365 for tonight's game. Plus or over 23.5 points for each team.
Interesting.
Boosted to plus 200. So you should probably like that if you like Washington
Probably.
to win. High-scoring game. So check out our friends over at Bet365. Use the code DNVR365 when you sign up, and they're going to give you an offer to either have a net or a free bet safety net of up to $1,000, or you can get $150 in bonus bets when you place a $5 bet over at Bet365 by using that code DNVR365. Check them out for tonight, for this weekend's NFL playoff games, or for any draft odds, because they're going to have so much over there at Bet365 with the code DNVR365. And, of course, you must be 21 or older, physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, once help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER.
And check out Game Time, because, well, first of all, I think Ryan and Allie used Game Time yesterday to get to this Broncos game.
Yep.
Which the Raiders' whole, like, in-game stuff kind of sucks. Again, we don't go to many road games, and so it's like you don't know too much. The Broncos, like, in-game stuff, much better. And I think they were better than the Bears game.
Football-centric, which is kind of what you go to a football game for.
Yeah, because even, like, they bring in, like, the live band that plays all sorts of stuff. Like, they got multiple singers. Like, they got rapper, they got, like, a singer, they got, like, all this stuff. And it's still, like, energy just not there. Again, like, it's a meaningless Week 18 game, so maybe that plays into it. But that was strange.
Yeah.
But if you're in Denver and you're trying to use Game Time, today might be the day, because the Avs are in town. And the cheapest tickets that you find for Avs and Nuggets are on days when it snows. Because people are just like, I don't want to deal with the snow and driving and that. And so many people sell, and there's so many empty seats. And so these tickets right now, all in price, $65 to get in. That's going to be down to like 30, I bet, by tonight. So stay tuned to Game Time. See if you can get to this game. It's the Bruins, which is a great game. If you decide that you want to pull the trigger, what you do is use the code DNVR and you'll get $20 off your first purchase in the Game Time app. So download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
Boom. Love it. All right, let's jump into what quarterback 1 had to say for the Denver Broncos. And the biggest thing, what's it about moving forward? Because, the game yesterday happened. These past 2 games happened, but now it's all about the future. Yep. And Jarrett Stidham today said, quote, "I'm very confident I can be the guy for us next year. I have no doubts."
Yeah. I mean, he has to believe that. And he believes it, and he should. And, like, he's made it this far in his career. It's been, like, a good career, and he's shown that he belongs in the NFL, you know, like, he is an NFL quarterback. He's just, so far, has looked like an NFL backup quarterback, which is not a bad thing to be. Like, that's actually a great thing to be.
Lifestyle-wise, that's a great thing to be.
Totally. And, you know, he's well-liked in the locker room, obviously. He does a lot of the stuff, like getting guys together off the field, like all that sort of stuff. Like, he's important culturally to the team, and that's what you want. Is like, that is a good job for a backup quarterback. He'll have a chance to start. Now, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a week 1 start, because I think this is going, we're trending so far toward a rookie that, like, you look through and, you know, it's like Michael Penix Jr., I'm pretty sure when they kneel the ball out of shotgun. That's how shotgun heavy they are. And again, I haven't gone through and watched the tape, all this stuff. So like,
So when they kneel the ball, they don't hand off to a running back and have him run it in for a touchdown. At the
they
end
also
of the game?
don't do that. They also don't do that.
Shout out Jameis Winston and the Saints
That
players
was ridiculous.
for going rogue.
Yeah, but that's where like when you look at these guys in this draft class, first of all, you might just go up and get Caleb Williams. Yeah, he's a day one starter. Even if you get Penix, he might be a day one starter. But you have like the holes, especially schematically in their game, where it's like if you're Sean, you look across the league at the quarterbacks who've panned out the best, and the guys who get to sit a bit generally tend to do better because they don't develop the bad habits. They don't take the beating. I could see a world in which he says, like, yeah, Stidham can go run the offense. Let this offense kind of get going. Let's get the run game going and make it a good situation so that, you know, you're 3-1 in week 5 and you're down 17-7 going into the fourth quarter. Throw Penix in there. Like, that's like the old school way to do it, is like the whole, like, we need a spark thing that he said about Jarrett Stidham. That used to be like how it goes, is like quarterback changes. Like you throw a guy in there, maybe more in college than the NFL, especially at this point. But I wouldn't be surprised, like if it is Penix, who schematically hasn't done a lot of things. Like over the middle, there's still some concerns. He's very good with the one-on-one. Like Jaden Daniels, same thing. Like, is he a little bit raw because the offense he comes out of? The point is, Jarrett Stidham is not like the future of the Broncos at quarterback, and I think that's probably pretty obvious. But he can serve a role, and that role could turn out to be a pretty big role, depending on like how the quarterback situation shakes out.
There's no reason why Jarrett Stidham should not be back as the quarterback of the Broncos next year in a backup role.
Yep.
Because regardless of what route the Broncos go down, they've already paid him a decent amount of his money. So bring him back for next year. He is going to be back. It was joked after the game last night. One of the things Jarrett Stidham said was, I want to be on the field for every single play of next year. And it was joked by some people. No, it was joked by some people like, yeah, backups, you're on the field. You're just on the sideline. I think that's absolutely what he's going to be. He proved that he can be, if you need him in a 2-game stretch, I'll take 1-1, and I'll take the stats that he had over these past 2 games to step in and be a backup quarterback, especially if it's the route of a rookie. Jarrett's a great guy for that. Here's what he said about kind of his performance in these past 2 days. Yahir's going to dial this up for us.
Yeah, I felt like I definitely grew, in those 2 weeks. It's one thing to practice certain things, but once you're out there playing and, making calls at the line and doing certain things and getting a feel for it, in live action, felt like I definitely grew and looking forward to, the spring. How much is that?
Man, so I've been told by our great, lovely producer Yahir that everyone's saying that we look dead today because we are.
Yes.
Jarrett Stidham, I don't think you can tell from this video. By the way, the hair was looking extra good today. I don't know if like getting hits from Maxx Crosby puffs it out a little more, but it was looking nice. His lip, right in the middle of it, very bruised. On the inside. The inside of his lip was so bruised it was like boiling out over, so like you could see it. Oh man. Shout out to Jarrett for being one tough SOB, because he took so many hits that I think would have knocked many guys out. At least put him on the sideline for a couple of plays, but Jarrett hung in there. He is one tough guy, and you could tell just by looking at him today. Speaking of taking tough hits,
Well, there's like a game at the casino. It's like this piggy game where, so it's like slots, but then if you get here? So you got like there's like a yellow pig, a red pig, a blue pig. You can actually tickle the pig and it'll like oink and giggle and stuff.
You like tickling pigs in Vegas and having them oink and giggle? Hey?
Ryan wouldn't stop. Ryan wouldn't stop. So the way it works,
you had your own room too, right?
I did. The way it works is you get like a coin, and so it'll be like red coin, and red coin goes in the red pig. And then you wind up with like the pig just gets fatter and fatter and fatter. And once the pig explodes, you get the bonus games. And so the 2 nights ago, Ryan was down bad with the pigs because he just kept be like gold coin and be like, oh, here it goes, and the pig just would not explode. It took like 10 coins when we thought like this is the coin that means the pig will freaking explode, and it wound up eventually exploded, got most of his money back, and all was good. But that's what the game last night reminded me of with Jarrett Stidham, where it's like you get to like, because he got hit like 11 times, and so the 6th time he got hit, I was like, that might have been the one. Like we might be seeing Russell Wilson here. He's taking a beating. And then number 7, I was like, that's got to be it. And then he gets like crunched on number 8, and you're like, there's no way this guy can keep taking this beating. And 9, and he stayed in the entire time. And each time I was like, how is he getting it? There were a couple he got up slowly, and I was like, is this it? Like, don't want it to happen, obviously, but like, there's a thing that happens when you take that many hits, and it's just that the backup comes in because you can't even move your arm or whatever at that point. And so good on him being able to take that beating, because that was a massive beating he took. Also, interesting in a lot of ways, especially because Russ always gets blamed for his own sacks. It's like, oh, Russ got sacked this many times, he stinks. And it's like, well, I mean, maybe there's some of it holding on the ball or whatever, but like, turns out that problem didn't go away.
There are so many conversations that we need to have, and we absolutely will have. Like I said, the off season is anything but an off season for us. For those of you tuning in, if this is your first time on the off season with us, we're Monday through Friday. Going to be going right around 11 a.m. Each day should be 11 a.m. Every single day starting next week, but we still have some Broncos media obligations later in this week, which may impact when we're doing this. We got Pat Surtain joining the show.
Nice.
Either tomorrow or Wednesday, again, just depending on how the Broncos media schedule works out for the rest of the week, talking to Sean, George, Greg, all those guys. But don't know where I was going with that, except for the fact that
Pat spoke today. Is it that?
Pat spoke today. No, it's not that. I think we're gonna get a lot better things when we have Pat in ourselves. But I mean, you talked about how after the piggy explodes, there's a game within the game or
bonus
something.
Game.
A
So
bonus
basically,
game? Wait, no. Wait, really quick. That would have been a bonus game if Jarrett would have exploded and Russ came in. That would have been the juice that like you typically think you're getting in Vegas. Didn't get it last night.
I mean, we were talking about where it's like, if I'm Antonio Pierce, the Raiders head coach, for those who don't know, because
the future Raiders head coach or the past Raiders head coach. So your report
I think
today?
future head coach. No,
should be, except
should he be?
Harbaugh.
Oh yeah, I did see that.
Raiders. That's
that would be a great fit.
Mark
honestly.
Davis's like top guy.
Yeah, I don't think he'd be willing to spend that much though. That's why I think Antonio Pierce kind of makes sense. Where it's like the fans want him, he's doing a decent job.
Players
you roll the
want
dice. The financial commitment isn't big, so if it doesn't work out, but yeah, I mean, if you can, Harbaugh to the Raiders would scare me, but we can have that talk if it turns out to be a thing. Yeah, I forgot what I was gonna say too.
Yeah, that's kind of the mood
Antonio
today.
Antonio Pierce. Oh, I thought I was Antonio Pierce. I would tell Maxx Crosby, like, here's what's up. They're playing Stidham because if Russ gets hurt, he's there for 2 more years.
Yep.
You go hit the hell out of Stidham, you get Russ in the game, you hit the hell out of Russ, and he's in Denver for 2 more years. So do what you want with that information. And he did his best.
Yes, he absolutely did do his best. We did. Did you hear 2 weeks ago what Maxx Crosby was continuously calling Gardner Minshew in the game after he had like hit him or sack him or take him to the ground or even walk by him? Maxx Crosby would say, "You're a little ass boy. You're a little ass boy."
He's a talker.
He didn't tell that to Jarrett Stidham because they're boys.
He slapped his ass hard though.
Whoa.
There was one hit.
What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas,
yeah,
Hank.
but like Stidham got the ball off barely, and Crosby just crunched him outside pocket. It was like a full windup, like bang. And like I was like, the ref was gonna throw a flag. Like immediately just think back to like the fake, like helping the Von helping Tyrod up. It's
Not
like,
helping
no,
him up. That's what got
exactly.
the flag.
And like it's a friendly, like little jokey thing, but like you're pushing it.
Yeah, you're pushing it. Speaking of injuries, Mike McGlinchey, we found out, broke 2 ribs last week.
Yeah.
He said he couldn't like breathe until Thursday without like a lot of pain. So
ribs suck.
There was really no chance of him playing. And honestly, I know Sean wanted to approach this like it was week 2 in terms of the injuries. Like if you're healthy enough to play in week 2, you're playing in week 18. For something like that, that's honestly like torture to put a guy out there that has a rib injury already when there's nothing on the line. I'm happy that Sean didn't force it that much because that would have been inhumane. So Mike will be fine for next year.
Because ribs are one of those So I'm not a doctor, and people disagree with me
You're
when I
not?
said this last time. No, I'm not.
Wow.
Maybe that's what I'll do with my off season. Yeah, but like ribs, a lot of the time you can play through it. Like if they're broken, like there's ways they could break and then you puncture a lung or whatever. But like a lot of the time you can just like go out there. Like Tom Brady played through broken ribs, I think multiple times. But you shoot up, it's
Future Broncos
for the most
quarterback?
part pain thing. No. It's the off season. We're gonna hear dumber stuff than that.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh no, I was done.
Oh, you were
Yeah.
done. You know what you don't need, Henry, today because you had too many over the weekend?
Breckenridge beers.
Breckenridge beers,
Yeah.
exactly. You can find it in all 50 states, including Las Vegas. Henry, in fact, went for one before the plane yesterday. Him and RG got a couple of drinks at the airport, and I was like,
Yeah.
you guys are built differently than
Well,
I am. I can't do that after our weekend.
Because I was thinking about, I was like, it'll help me fall asleep on the plane, like, make it a little bit less. But I was like, I'm done. I decided against it because I wasn't going to. And then RG grabbed 2. And so when I saw RG grab 2 beers, that's when I was like, well, I guess I'll have 1.
All right, you're
like,
painting
this
RG
is
in a
basically
very
0
bad
now.
picture.
When I saw
RG said they were small. He needed something for the plane ride. They were smaller Chulies.
They weren't
when
that.
I
so
saw
they were,
RG,
they were cans.
When I saw RG grab 2, that's when I said, okay, I definitely need 0.
Oh, okay.
Right now.
Yeah. I know. Well, I didn't.
Me and Zach went the opposite way. We're like, we're not.
I didn't
like
make it to
this.
that roulette wheel either.
Yeah, you didn't. You kind of just wimped out
I know.
because
Damn it.
Breckenridge beer was just flowing this weekend. So check them out, whether you're in Vegas, whether you're in Denver, whether you're at the DNVR bar, or if you can't make any of those places and you need to get your hands on some Breck beer, or you want to, I should say, check out breckbeer.com. They got a beer locator, top left-hand corner. Click on that, and it's going to take you and show you where not only you can get Breck beer, but specific types of Breck beer. So if you're an ale guy, they've got those Strawberry Sky, Porter Season, Avalanche, snowing outside. So might be one of those darker beer times. Check them out, breckbrew.com, the official beer of DNVR.
And first of all, yes, Cody, we should do some sort of meetup Super Bowl week.
Yeah,
we got to figure that out.
By the way, shout out to our guy,
Yes.
Cody, everyone that came through in Vegas. We had a great
A
showing.
lot,
It was
yes.
really, really cool to meet some of you because it was out of state. It was a little more intimate of a gathering, and it's really cool to
Yeah.
get to know everyone. So shout out to everyone. Had a great time with all of you. And Cody, I know you met Todd and Ryan, but I'm bummed that I did
Yeah.
not get to meet you yesterday because Henry and I were at the game. Just know that we will be meeting up in Vegas. And
Yeah.
for anyone that's going to be in Vegas for the Super Bowl, we will be there. And
We'll do some fun stuff.
We'll do some fun stuff.
Yep. Get back to that blackjack table. That was a lot of fun.
The only thing Henry's getting excited for is just going back to Vegas right now.
I love that place.
Yeah.
It's like the best place in the world.
He's like, you think Jerry Jeudy's frustrated? I'm frustrated with Jerry Jeudy's frustration.
I'm not frustrated with his frustration. I'm frustrated with the frustration about his frustration. It's like, yeah, the guy every single day, people are just like, we gotta get rid of him. He sucks. Like, what about would that? I would lose it. The fact that I guess he did say like the eye in the sky doesn't lie thing. Like, but I don't even count that as losing it. If I was in his situation, and it's tough for receivers because there's just stats. Like it's one of those things we talk about Quinn not making the Pro Bowl, where it's like, yeah, if he's a receiver, he's like the equivalent of a 1,300-yard receiver, and everybody's like, oh, he's incredible, he's a Pro Bowler, because like you gotta get your name, all that sort of stuff. And that's what's nice about young receivers. You're just like, oh, you're sick. The flip side of it is literally everybody can just look at the number and say good or bad. It's like, that's just not how it works for most positions. But yeah, Baxton Shanker, if you're in trouble, if you took a beating like Jarrett Stidham did, or you got some broken ribs like Mike McGlinchey, call 222-2222, and you'll get compensated for what was done to you, what horrible thing happened to you. Whether it's a car wreck, or like you're a pedestrian, you get hit, or you're on a bike, or basically any injury case where you weren't at fault. Baxton Shanker would love to help. And they'll give you a free consultation. There's no fees unless you win, until you win, honestly. They've won over $1 billion for Coloradans. They've got 30 lawyers across the state. Thank God these are my quiet hiccups. Sometimes they get loud, but Bax and
First
Chanker,
person
they
to
win.
ever meet that has quiet hiccups and
2 2
loud
2
hiccups.
2 2 2 2. Yeah, no, they get aggressive.
Your hiccups?
Have you never heard? Huh.
No, I'm sorry.
You'll notice now. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll definitely notice in the future. Will Josey Jewell notice in the future? Because will he be close enough to you after this season to be able to hear your hiccups? Because his contract has now expired, Hank, and you were
be a
there
fun prop
to
bet.
catch his interview.
Yeah.
What'd you take from that?
There was a bit, I mean,
You
There-
have
there
you have a
aren't-
good takeaway from
Yeah.
this is how I'll phrase it.
there aren't a lot of guys who, I don't know, have super uncertain futures. Like just this year in particular. Like typically there are more. There's like questions like, will they extend Quinn Miners, give him all his money this offseason? Like probably. But it's only when you look at the starters, it's PJ Locke, it's Josey Jewell, Lloyd Cushenberry, and Fabian Moreau who are kind of like on the line. You go through them, it's like PJ Locke, probably not getting a massive deal, but like proven that he's an NFL guy. Like he'll stick around. Fabian, obviously kind of a journeyman corner. His journey will probably continue. It's like not crazy if he leaves. Josey's been the starting inside linebacker for 5 years now. 2018, 19, 20, 1, 2, 3. I'm not sure he started his rookie year.
Who did he start next to earlier in his career?
Todd.
Who?
The Todd father?
The Todd father,
Yeah.
TD.
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, Josey's kind of been the heart of that defense and called plays, all that sort of stuff for a long time. And so that was obviously like the topic of conversation is like, your contract's up. What's up? And he basically said, suck it, Zach. Let's see.
Wow.
Why are you screaming suck and sack? And then
Oh yeah, for the audio listeners, somebody said Hank is the only reason I listen to this podcast. That's my guy.
Wow.
probably my
Come
grandma.
on. People roll through for me
Probably my
here.
grandma. Probably my grandma. Yeah, but I mean
No,
that was
it's
a
not your
topic.
grandma.
And what he basically
you've told me, you've said that your grandma's all about you getting hit by Alex and
yeah,
stuff. So
she thinks it's really funny for now. But
yeah. So yeah, speaking of linebackers hitting you, Josey.
yeah. So basically, you kind of expect him. I don't know if you even expect him to say like, "I just want to be back. I'll do whatever it takes to be back," like that sort of stuff. But that wasn't.
Well,
it
really
wasn't like a negative tone. It was more so just that like, yeah, like I hope I'm back. If it's here, it's awesome. Like I've had some great memories here. There've been some guys I really like here, but like, it also wasn't like I'm gonna make it be back. Like he realizes that there could be a team that swoops in and says like, we'll give you $6 million a year, we'll give you $7 million a year. Broncos say we'll give you $4 million a year, and like when you're at Josey's stage of his career, like you've got 2-3 years left, probably as a linebacker. I mean, even less than that, the way Todd's career played out. You don't throw that money to the side. And so I do think that it's kind of it's negotiations at this point. And I really hope that they find a way to make it work out. I don't know. I framed it as if like he was saying like, I'm not going to be here. I got to get paid. That wasn't it. It was just that like I've had a good time here. Like here we're talking favorite memories as a Bronco. Some of that sort of stuff that did make it feel so like it is not a done deal that he's back, which is interesting though, because again, like, yes, they're $20 million over the cap. Like they have to make some tough decisions. $5 million to keep your middle linebacker for the course, or who's been your starting inside linebacker for that long, played well. Coverage grade surprisingly good this year. Like when you
why
look
is that
through,
surprising?
because they haven't always been in the past. But yeah, like target
Clip
rate.
it. We'll put it out.
His target rate was incredibly low for a linebacker. The average separation when he's in coverage was surprisingly low as well. Again, I mean, some of that is Alex is more their cover guy. Like there's a reason he's on the field more on those third downs. When there's 2 assignments, Alex typically draws the tougher assignment, which helps out a little bit. But the numbers are the numbers, and the numbers are pretty freaking good.
Well,
So that's kind of the way it is, where it did feel like it was somewhat of a, hey, I hope they give me my money. So even that feels like pushing it a bit. It's like, I hope I'm here, but there's going to be offers. There will be offers this offseason.
And Henry, right there, that so many times I'll come in with a quote and be like, how about this quote? And you're like, what else was he supposed to say?
Yeah.
Josey didn't take that route. 100%. Like,
Yeah.
it's not like he said, like, F the Broncos. Of course not. It wasn't like that. But the fact that he didn't take the 100% PR company line of being back is showing, but also there's going to be so many changes. Sean had so many
Yep.
changes his first year in Denver. Now he has an entire off season here. There's going to be so many changes that simply he wants. Then there's going to be so many changes that just naturally happen with the team. Then there's going to be so many changes that the Broncos have to make, because if they move on from Russell Wilson, they're going to be dealing with an unmatched dead cap situation that no team has ever seen before. So you say, why not bring back your inside linebacker, who is a damn good player? You are likely getting worse if you move on from Josey Jewell, at least for this next season. Why not just bring him back, especially when those things are on the line? You might not have an option. Because if you take that approach of, it's only $5 million for this position, yeah, I like that, but there's like 10 other positions that you probably need to say that about, and then you do have to make the tough decisions, or Josey has to make the tough decision of, damn, I like Denver. I like playing next to Alex Singleton. And I think did he call him an interesting name today? Or was he just talking about someone else? Maybe just in
let's
general.
see. He did say...
in a fun, loving way.
He did say, like, when he was told... So Alex initially said, like, yeah, every day I'm going to be texting him saying, like, come back. I'm going to be telling everybody here, like, we got to go get you all that stuff. And Josey basically said... that's probably the last thing you want if you want me back. Like, they're not listening to him, and I don't think I should either.
And when we were talking to Josey, probably 20 media members around Josey, Alex Singleton walked by and with a smile said, yes, he's coming back. So definitely
That's the
pressure
question.
coming from Alex.
Yeah, but it was, I mean, yeah, if you're in Josey's shoes, like, you just know the reality of the situation, and that's that you don't know if you're going to be a career Denver Bronco or not right now.
Yeah.
Like, and that's something that just about every player wants. Like, it's if you can just stay with one team your entire career, like, that's how you become a legend. Like, that's how, like imagine Todd. Imagine Todd halfway through his career goes somewhere else. It's like, it's just a different feeling. It's not that Todd isn't like a great guy or wouldn't know the Broncos, but like, you just kind of build that clout over longevity. And so even it's different when you're here for a rough era, which Josey has been. But when you play out your career in one place, you know, it's the same thing with Vaughn, where, like, how is Vaughn remembered here if he plays his entire career versus having like a second chapter? Like, he's still like an all-time great Bronco, all those sorts of things, but there is just a little bit different tone of it. Like, you think back to like Shannon Sharp's Ravens years, and it's just kind of like weird to think about. Like, it sucks that Champ finished with the Saints. Like, it just feels kind of gross. And Josey obviously like isn't a 6-time All-Pro like those guys, but I think he really wants to just be remembered as the Denver Broncos middle linebacker. But it's a business as well, and so you'll see he's gonna get a few offers. You know, Ejiro Evero out in Carolina. I don't know. I don't watch a lot of the Panthers. I would imagine they could use a linebacker. Wouldn't be surprised if they could use one who knows the system and can put everybody in the right spot and know his run fit and get everybody else set up. That seems like it could be pretty valuable over there too. And I don't know who else will offer, but yeah, it was kind of a darker tone. It's like, yeah, I enjoyed my time here. Great memories of Vaughn and his listening teammates, that sort of stuff. And
Notable.
so hopefully he's back. But
Notable.
We'll see.
Very notable. You know what Greg Dulcich does want to be remembered as?
Football player?
Exactly. 100% a football player, not a hamstring injury.
Yeah.
And he knows, he's realistic about what happened. He played a couple of quarters this year. He ended up playing in 2 games, didn't make it through either game, I don't believe. He had 3 catches on the entire season on 4 targets. We know that he's been dealing with the hamstring injury. Been on IR 4 different times in just 2 years with the hamstring. He talked today, and it wasn't the hamstring that held him back. He told us that finally, once his hamstring started feeling good 2 weeks ago, his foot swelled up.
First practice.
He said it was like first practice back. It was like he said it was freaky that his foot swelled up. He said he has a really bony foot, and for some reason that impacted like the swelling in his shoe. And so he said it was freaky. The good news is he said his hamstring feels great. He said he was running full speed before, but he knows that the number one thing is now just staying healthy. And that's something where, man, I can no longer count on Greg Dulcich moving forward. But if the Broncos go and get a tight end 1 and Greg Dulcich stays healthy, they could instantly go from having one of the worst tight end or one of the least productive tight end rooms in like the past 20 years to a great tight end room because Greg Dulcich is talented. So it's good to hear that. I should ask you, Hank, is it more encouraging to hear for the future of Greg Dulcich that his hamstring's feeling great right now, or more concerning that right as his hamstring gets healthy, a weird bony foot swelling problem pops up?
I think it's either way would have been the same for me. Like, I don't think it makes a big difference.
Glass half
like
full and empty at the same time.
yeah,
type of
it's
guy.
just like it. Don't love to hear that there's a foot problem. I'm not a doctor yet, so I can't tell you
Yeah.
exactly. Well, I'll tell you next season by the time I am. But if it's one of those things where like it swells up again in a month when he starts running again, and then swells up again, then like that's horrible. Just give me the one hamstring and play your card. But like if it's just like a weird like
No, you want two hamstrings.
fluky thing, you do want two. He needs like 4 more to pull, more backups. I don't know, but yeah, you're right. You can't count on him. But this is why like the season in Denver is the off season. It still is. Like for a moment there, maybe the first Russ year wasn't. Maybe the season was the season, but the off season going into that off season, you were like, was
the season.
This is a
still.
big off season, and it turned into like a really big off season because you get Russ. But so that's a tough one. But yeah, this year off season is the season because you don't have a whole bunch of things solidified. Like we talked all about Josey. They don't have a second cornerback. Well, they have a nickel cornerback in Jaquan, but they don't have a second cornerback. Like it could be Damari, could bring Fabian back. You could make it Riley Moss based on nothing, but like. And you're doing something.
Fabian, all credit in the world. He had a fantastic season for the role he was brought in for. Like a fantastic season considering everything. But he did kind of wear down. And I mean, yesterday was not a good game for him, and he's had more of those games recently.
It's the comeback routes.
So yeah, you do need. Yeah,
he was
and the go routes.
Like he did get that. But that's the give and take there. So. The first, he played, I think, like 12 starts or so, maybe not quite that many, like 6 incredible. 6 where you look at the numbers and say, like, numbers-wise, easy top 5 cornerback in the NFL. And then since then, not so good. And it hasn't necessarily been terrible every game, but it has a couple times. And like you said, like, it's that go ball, too. But I think that go ball scared him because, again, like, he just got beat at the line on that one. And he was fast enough to keep up. But he just wasn't fast enough to overtake. And who was that who caught that? It wasn't Tank Dell. It was before that. But it was a speed receiver who got him on it. And so you have that. And so then these past couple weeks, he's kind of sitting back. And so these comebacks been open. Like, it's no surprise that that's what the Raiders were doing last week because it was on tape. And week before, they had Easton's stick, like, missing on one that kind of bails him out. But the point is, cornerback 2, that's a question. You have a bunch of safety. Like, do you just roll with Justin on one side and Caden and PJ competing for the other spot, or do you need to do something there, or do you get rid of Justin? Like, there's so many questions, and one of them is tight end, where like Troutman's a free agent. Do you re-sign him, run it back? Like, I don't think anybody loves that idea.
No,
but what else do you do?
Right.
Like, Dalton Schultz was on a 1-year deal, wasn't he?
There you go.
So, and I was pushing for him last year, saying like,
that's
go
money
get
to spend.
Go get that man. Yeah, and
You don't have money to spend.
but I mean,
You're in the red.
totally. But that's not even spending that much initially, because what McGlinchey's cap hit was like $7 million this year.
Right.
Powers was like $3 million this year. Like, first year of a new contract isn't bad. If you wanted to go get somebody, you could do it, and then you do all stuff. But the thing is, 2026 is going to be fun. That's when you wind up with the money. You can pay guys. Like, that's your next big offseason.
So sad.
Oh, yeah. No, it freaking sucks. But, like, it is what it is. 2025 is the year that you're worried about right now. It's like, how do you get through that one? It's like,
man.
you could definitely go get a Dalton Schultz. Like, he's probably one of your 2 decent acquisitions of the offseason, but you could do it if you can find a way to make it through 2025 as well. So 2025, you can also add guys because that's like the small cap hit. Russ comes off the books, you get a bonus $55 million the next year, and so those start eating into that cap. So you could kind of justify some of those things next year. This year is going to be tough, but like, so then that means you are bringing Troutman back.
And
Like, you got to do something.
we got some questions to hit really quick, but I just want to make sure that we get the other news out of the way today. Caden Stearns talked. He tore his had a patellar tendon injury, which required surgery. He said he should be good to go for OTAs. He said there was no chance that he was going to be able to come back this year, but good to hear that he's recovering well. The Broncos did sign DiNucci.
Yep.
Ben DiNucci's back on a futures deal for the Broncos. Some other futures deals are rolling in for the Broncos today as well. And DTY, De'Aaron Turner-Yell, suffered an ACL, MCL, and meniscus damage last week. So he's going to have surgery, according to Mike Kliss, in 2 or 3 weeks after the swelling goes down. And what really stinks about that is that will likely impact him next year as well. So that's tough.
Like the safety position is just a weird one. Because as it stands now, on the roster, you've got Justin, Caden, DTY, Skinner. And then you've got the practice squad guys who, like, we're excited. But, like, you can't expect too much there.
Right.
You could bring back PJ probably for cheap. Like, then you got PJ, Caden competing for that job. Skinner also competing, but because he was inactive, you don't really know. DTY, like, one of your top special teamers, so you imagine he'd make the team. Maybe going on IR helps him a little bit, because then it's more of like a week 5, week 6, like, we can't activate him. Do we want to activate him?
Right.
It's like, yeah, we got a roster spot because whoever got hurt. And so we might as well bring him up. He's like a depth safety, some special teams. But it felt like 4 or 5 weeks ago there weren't too many questions. Now you're getting to the point where, like, there aren't a lot of things that really are set in stone.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Except maybe outside linebackers? Unless you do something crazy.
And except for the comment section.
Oh, no.
Should we hit it?
Yes.
All right, let's get into these comments. First one coming in from our friend Joel says, if Penix is drafted, do you fear that his blindside McGlinchey 6 sacks, the most on the offensive line, will get him killed?
Yeah. I also think...
Wow, that was a very straightforward answer.
Oh, yeah. You got to be. McGlinchey was the weak link in pass protection. Like, that's just the truth. He would tell you the same thing. I think it's also important to remember that guys change year to year. Just because one thing happens one year doesn't mean Jamal Williams, 17 touchdowns last year, won this year because of
baby, let's go.
Like, just so much change. And McGlinchey in particular, so he's playing some of his best football. He's not playing well. Decides I need to add some weight. Plays really well. Tears his quad off the bone. And so it's like, well, that didn't go great. Spends the offseason recovering. Comes back, doesn't play great. Decides at that point he wanted to take the weight down because he was like, I can't, like, my body's can sustain it. I can't remember what he did before this year. But it's just kind of that adventure where he's another one where, Cortland Sutton, 2 years removed from the ACL, was much better than he was 1 year removed. Like, sometimes it takes time. With McGlinchey is 2 years removed, significantly better than 1 year removed from the quad thing. And then there's I struggled at this, so I can work on this, like, another year in the system, so maybe picks, like, I would buy McGlinchey's stock right now, I guess is kind of the point.
I like that. Let's do some stock buying later this week.
It'd probably be pretty cheap, but, like, I would buy it. But yeah, you'd have to be terrified of the blind side.
I think that nowadays blindside isn't as important as it used to be.
I think it is.
I think importance has been taken off of it. Now it's still important because he's a tackle, but that doesn't concern me. Like, I'm pretty much at the same concern level if he's right-handed or left-handed, personally.
Interesting. Yeah. You got pocket passer with a blindside problem, like, that's just a recipe for disaster. Like, to me, like, the blindside's massive.
Man, I can't wait to see Michael Penix tonight.
Yes, definitely.
Chris is chiming in and he says, do we have to draft a quarterback to be competitive, or is it more likely that we end up with a veteran or retread quarterback and trade back in the draft to get more picks? If you ask George Payton, he might say, let's trade back, accumulate picks. If you ask Sean Payton, he's going to say, let's go get my quarterback.
Yeah.
Hank, when it comes down to if those are the two options on the table, which one are the Broncos going with?
I mean, they're going after a rookie.
They're going the Sean Payton route.
Yeah. And, like, there's financially, you're just in such a tough spot that going and paying $30 million a year to Baker Mayfield or to Kirk Cousins, like, that would make you a better football team. Like, you would take a step forward because you made either of those moves. Justifying that, especially knowing that, like, the next year's the tough dead cap hit year, And then you have like the financial issues because that's when those contracts really hit in. Like it would be very short-sighted. It wouldn't be worth it in the long run. I don't think those guys are like getting you to a Super Bowl, and you're going to be screwed salary cap wise in a couple of years, and that's just a bad idea. It might be possible, but that's why I think you go rookie, because getting an upgrade over Russell Wilson in free agent market's going to be very expensive, and that's a bad decision. A rookie, not as good as Russell Wilson, but like, what else you gonna do? Hopefully he hits.
Kurt says, you're the GM and coach. Are you trading up for a great prospect quarterback or trading down multiple times and getting more long-term and work with what we have? Sean Payton's here for a good time. We don't necessarily know about a long time. Yeah. So this is all about building this team up as quick as possible, and I think that path is going to be rookie quarterback. I don't think they're going to be trading down. I think they're going to be vastly or significantly trading up.
Yeah, and the tough part is, like, again, the draft isn't for a few months, so like everybody's like, you got to trade up to get Penix. And it's like, well, I mean, because he had a great game last weekend, like, let's see if he goes out there and throws 3 picks tonight, and we're saying like, yeah, maybe he's back in the 3rd round again. Like, things are going to fluctuate, and so whatever I say right now might wind up looking insane. But like, yeah, right now, if the draft was tonight and you could trade up, like if you could trade 2 firsts to get in position to get Penix or Jaden Daniels, I would do it. If you could get any of those top 4 for this year's first and next year's first, I would do it. Anything more than that, like throwing a 5th, throwing a 3rd even, like I could probably get behind it.
Throwing a 2nd and a 3rd to get up to 4 to get one of those guys.
Again, like I don't care where you get up to. It's about, can you get one of those guys? Like let me sit back and take JJ McCarthy, Bo Nix. Like I don't. There's a good chance.
Just throw the 2nd and the 3rd in.
But
I think that's what Sean's gonna do.
The problem is they don't have any good players. Like as sad as that sounds, like who are the first rounders on the roster? Garrett Bowles, who they saved $16 million that they move on from. Jerry Jeudy, who they saved $13 million who they move on from. Pat Surtain's a first rounder. He's awesome. And then there's one more on the defense, right? There's got to be one more. No, he was 3rd. Zach Allen was 3rd. Maybe, is that really it? Like, those might be, like, you are lacking talent. Like, the Broncos this year didn't have they had a quarterback problem, but it was like the number 5 problem, and so you just cut the head off because of all the contract stuff. But, like, the big problem was that there was nobody to throw to. The offensive line was solid for the most part, fell off a little bit recently. The running backs were mismanaged at best. Too many touches for Javonte down the stretch at best, and like maybe you don't really have a guy who should take, like, you just have issues all over the roster, and so going and getting a rookie and giving up all that, like, it's not have fun 2027.
Sure,
like,
no,
push
very
it back.
fair. I see what you're saying. The Broncos are in such a bad spot, whatever they do.
That's the tough part.
Cody chimes in and says, if Josey leaves, does Alex get the green dot and Drew plays next to him?
Yeah, Drew's a tough one because obviously outside this year, but like he just wasn't going to get snaps inside. Like you've got Josey and Alex, they were both clearly better. Like there wasn't a path, so like at least you rotate your outside linebackers so you can get him in the rotation, get him some reps, and they could use a little bit of help at various points. And I thought he definitely played much better there, but it was also like he was just kind of thrown into the fire when he was inside. So it's what did you really expect? Of course, he was going to be much better later in the season. That's when he was there. You saw some nice things. I don't think you've seen nearly enough to say like we can put him at linebacker and enjoy it. But what you could say is there's always veteran linebackers on the free agent market. Like there just always are. Like who was it just a few weeks ago? Shaq Leonard.
Right.
Yeah, Shaq Leonard was just right there. Like if you really wanted to, and I think it'd be a bad idea, you could say, yep, we're going Alex and Drew to start the year. We've got Jonas back from injury. We have like those 3, and if we need help week 3, there's going to be a veteran linebacker out there. Like linebackers are always out there.
How about this? Todd Davis?
He's a veteran linebacker who's out there. He's a veteran linebacker.
Is he available? I would personally say he's taken in my book.
Yeah, there's a number.
He'd probably say he's available.
Yeah. I mean, that'd be a fun conversation. Todd, how much would you have to be offered?
When we really get into the
Todd,
offseason.
I talked to Todd about this, and it's pretty high up there. That with the Broncos cap hit, it might not be feasible.
Okay.
And speaking of offseason pods, we're going to wrap up with this one. The Danimal, our guy who's going to get Henry Chisholm tackled, says first pod of the offseason.
Yes.
So I think we need to start off with the classic dishwasher salmon. Looks like everyone owes Arcane an apology. I was browsing Instagram waiting to fly home from Central America this morning and found the wiki link for dishwasher salmon complete with links and references to actual recipes featured on morning shows. Ryan, can you ever forgive us? Danimal, I've still never seen him make it, so I'm still calling BS on it.
It's true.
And
I've never seen it.
Those are the type of conversations we're going to get into. It's going to be a blast. And we got one super chat rolling in from Triple G right now before we get out of here. It says, great job covering the team, gentlemen. Is it quarterback or bust in the first round? Or could you see them getting a tight end like Brock Bowers from Georgia, who's a beast and playmaker? Triple G, I think it's a great question. I think getting a excellent non-quarterback is enticing, but no, it's all about the quarterback in the first round, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's quarterback until it's not. Like, if you wind up in free agency and they're just like, we decided to give a bunch of money to Baker Mayfield, like, that is very possible. Like, I do think, like, that, it's probably possible because of the way that Sean has pushed Cap down the line in the past. Like, I just think that'd be a horrible decision. And so, like, I can't believe they would make that decision until they do. So it's first round quarterback till it's not. With Brock Bowers, he scares me a little bit. Like, I don't like young tight ends in general, and he's a really young tight end. He's also, I think he's listed an inch shorter and 10 pounds lighter than Adam Troutman. So, like, is he really like a big old blocking guy? I don't know about it, but the production you can't argue with. He's an upgrade over Dulcich as a receiver.
Speak of the devil, Ryan, have you ever made dishwasher salmon? What? Have you ever made dishwasher salmon?
He says he has.
He says it in Pixar it didn't happen, so not quite sure.
I mean, I haven't done it since I was...
Oh, he's saying he hasn't done it since before this podcast. So, yeah, I think I'm going to have to wait to see it until I can fully give him the credit. Because, Ryan, we're in the off-season, so it's dishwasher salmon talk. You feeling better than we are today? You alive? You got double coffees, double fisting venti coffees. Double fisting Trenta coffees.
That's messed up.
That's Hank's only got a one venti, and I have none. So maybe that's our issue, Hank. Wow, one say Santa. Oh my gosh.
I don't think it's Spanish.
Man, I love it.
It's not Spanish. Yeah, no.
Italian.
Yes.
You thought Starbucks' names were Spanish?
No, he did. He
time?
said say Santa.
That's actually Spanish.
Yeah.
Also, real quick, before we head out, talk to Hank all weekend. He is legit decent at Spanish. More than I expected.
It's true. I've had multiple Spanish teachers say I have potential.
Oh, man. It's been a blast of a weekend. It's been a blast of a day. And like we said, the off-season's here, so the season has begun for us. This is when the fun starts. This is when the Broncos will be winning or losing next year, starting right now with all the moves they're making. We've got some more news coming later this week, so make sure to stay tuned. We'll be back live tomorrow, either around 11 or 12, so stay tuned with us when we break down these season-ending press conferences.
And talking quarterbacks.
And talking quarterbacks after tonight's game.
What are the odds J.J. McCarthy's the new Broncos love after tonight, not Michael Penix?
Nope.
You don't think so?
1%.
I'm all in on Washington, so I'm going to agree, but like it's...
If Michigan wins, it'll just be because J.J. McCarthy will be the car, not the driver. Or Penix is the driver. Make sense? No?
Wouldn't you... I think car's better.
No, you want to be the driver.
You want to be the car.
Yeah.
Driver is the one that...
Mahomes is the car.
No, Mahomes is the driver.
Mahomes is the car.
No, Mahomes
Brock
is
Purdy's the driver.
No, Brock Purdy's the car.
I
don't know.
No.
You know what I mean. We got to go. Let us know in the comment section if it's better to be the car or the driver.
McCaffrey, those guys, the car.
We're out. We'll see you tomorrow. Enjoy your car talk.
We all silly like the mayor.